allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God, we thank you for the opportunity to be the business of the county, and we pray you give the commissioners insight and wisdom as they lead. Pray that you watch over our county employees and protect them as they serve the people of the county. Pray in Jesus' name.
All right, good morning, everybody. Reviewed the minutes from last week and make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Any more discussion on it?
Nope.
Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, we approve the claims in the amount of $158,239.13.
I'll second that motion.
Any more discussion? Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just need to sign this.
Gary, I know you got to get out of here pretty soon. Is there anything you need to do right off the bat?
Well, before I leave it, I'll leave just a little before 10. Before that, we need to have a personnel executive session with Randy. And I think that's all I have to do before we go.
Okay.
I think we should include Sean in that as well.
How much?
What is this?
Just need to sign it.
Oh.
It's for your office. I want you to print and then your signature.
$10 minutes, 15 minutes.
10 minutes ought to do it, hadn't it, Jim?
I would say.
You just want to get that knocked out of the way first?
That's fine with me.
What was it? You need to say that again, Jason?
Personnel.
With Sean?
I think we should include Sean.
With
if
Sean
He's going to be working.
And Randy Page.
$10 minutes, you said?
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we go into executive session for 10 minutes for personnel with Sean and Randy. Randy Page.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just stand out front.
Yeah. You thought I'd lie to you?
Let's see, wait, sir.
Do you have a total on these? Or how many, what's the,
Action on the,
Yeah,
oh yeah, there's no action in executive session?
there should have been a summary page.
Yeah, there was, where was it? There was one there somewhere, did that?
right here.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, this is it? I'll make a motion that we approve, add and abate number 2022-854 through 865 for a total tax change of $661.62.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll go to the department heads. Galen? Yeah, go ahead.
Left that too, there.
Good morning, Galen Anderson with American Medical Response. Transport volume for ambulance transports. At this point of the month, we're at 11 transports. Which is a little bit higher than last 2 weeks of February was as far as transport trend wise. So volumes picked back up a little bit busier. And then really the only other thing is that of the 2 EMTs, we hired one who's been released to independent duty, which means she's working on her own on her assigned shift in the ambulance, filling a position. And then the other one's about to be released to independent duty as well. So that'll be great. It would be down to just one open paramedic position. And I think that's all I have. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Galen.
I know that Rick sat on the board with them up there in Topeka.
On the state board, yeah.
Do we need to,
I think he did that not as a not as a representative of the
Okay.
board, but just as an individual. Wasn't that, is that your understanding? Yeah.
okay, so we don't need to mess with that? Okay. I don't have anything else, Galen. Thank you.
Have a good week.
You too, thanks. Randy?
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Piggold, Linn County Fire Emergency Management. I give you the last week's run report. Had 11 incidents for the week, brought our total up to 74. Those 11 incidents, out of those 11, 5 of them are on Saturday. With that, Saturday being so busy, we did put a man in disinfect yesterday, which is the land. Evidently it works, so we won't call that all yet. Reminder, this week is emergency, severe weather emergency week, preparedness week. We will be testing storm sirens on Wednesday, starting at 10 o'clock here in Mountain City. This is the first time we're really testing them since dispatches moved, so I'll be working with IT. They're on second, set them off from all 3 consoles, we want to go on site of each storm siren, so, we post that on Facebook and newspapers, so just let everybody know that that will be taking place this week, with storm sirens. I would like to ask for 10 minutes executive session for personnel matters.
I had a phone call last week about the burn ban. And they read something in the paper. He said, we haven't changed anything. Yeah, I didn't think so. I just told him that we had talked about it and we're just trying to see if there was better ways, but nothing's changed. So
And so far this year, the burn ban.
you turn that mic on. Sorry, I just got a message saying it's not on. Sorry, go ahead.
The burn bans that we've issued this year so far. I'm basing that off of wind speed. Anything with sustained winds over 20 and gusts up into the 40s, we're putting burn bans on. So that's going off of the National Weather Service predictions.
Yeah.
And I had one day that we issued a burn ban. The winds did not get to the speeds that they were calling, so we canceled the burn ban by the afternoon. So
Okay.
the other thing that I'd like to ask is I gave information on tanks for our Rangers last week, handed it out. With it being such a specialized product, I was only able to find one manufacturer of those tanks.
They go in the bed.
Bed of the Rangers.
Yeah, those go in the Rangers. Right now, we currently are using aluminum tanks. They were purchased a couple of years ago. What's happening is the water sitting in these tanks and the inside's corroding. So we're getting chunks of almost like lime deposits. It's plugging the filters up and they're not effective. We're having to empty these filters on these 2 or 3 times just during one fire because they're just not spraying. They're plugging up. They're just nasty on the inside, and we're going to continue to fight them until we replace them or do something different. Looked at coating them with stuff on the inside, and it would take a lot of work to get the current tanks opened up. Hope the coating stayed in them, and it'd take them out of service for a while. The tank that you're looking at is a plastic tank. They're identical to the ones that we're running on our brush trucks already. They're made for firefighting apparatus to go in Rangers. The quote I got for them is $2,120 each for each tank. The dealer has 5 of them that they said they could deliver here. And that price is delivered. They'll bring them up. They'll have them here either today or tomorrow if we want them.
And how many do we need?
We need 7. All they have available is 5 at this time. I'd like to go ahead and, if we can, purchase those, and if we can catch rainy days, get these Rangers switched over to these plastic tanks so we're not fighting the aluminum anymore. I talked to David, and there's money in the special equipment fund. He recommended that coming out of the special equipment fund for the purchase of those tanks, which total would be $10,600.
That's for all 7.
That's for all 5.
Just 5.
Yeah, just
The
5.
They have.
Are they building you 2 more or no?
They can. They don't know how far they are out. That's the problem, is these tanks are hard to get right now. They can't keep up with them. They were hoping today or tomorrow to have me kind of a time frame on if we wanted 2 more, to how long it'd take to get here. It may be fall before they'd get here, so. And that bid was from Emergency Fire Equipment.
You guys think?
I'm good with it.
Yep.
We gotta have them, I guess.
You said it's coming out of your special equipment fund?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we allow Randy to purchase the 5 plastic tanks for the Rangers out of the special equipment fund from emergency fire equipment for $10,600.
I'll second that. Any more discussion on it? Jim, got anything? Motion moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's all I have, unless you guys have questions.
How's everything going in your departments? Are you fine?
Things are going good. Things are kind of ramping up with spring burning starting. Other than that, things are going good. Trying to sneak some training in here and there. Here in a couple weeks, we got, I think, 10 guys going down to Parsons for the weekend for fire school, cover different subjects. So other than that, things are going good.
I know we talked here a few weeks about the mutual aid agreement that we're calling it? Okay. Have we got anywhere on that? Have you talked, any of the cities reached out to you?
I have not. I visited with Linn Valley just saying, hey, I'm going to come up and talk to their chief about it and go from there.
I don't have anything else.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Randy.
Missy? Or, Randy, are you in a hurry? You want to do your executive session? Okay. Missy, go ahead.
The first thing I have, I know you won't vote on it this week, but I want you to look at it, is our yearly grants that we do, our aid to local, that helps pay a lot of our salaries. And that is a packet I handed out there on your right. It's our IEP grant, our MCH grant, state funding, and our FEP, which is Public Health Emergency Preparedness. I don't have the MCH one in there yet because the state hasn't got it ready for me, but they are due at noon on March 15th. So that'll give you guys a chance to look at those and see if you have any questions. The other thing in there is our benefit cost analysis. We worked on that, and that gives you how much costs per client that we see, and how much is grant money, and how much is cost per service from the county. On the back of the grant pages, in the very back, is a kind of a cost employee analysis that tells how much of each person's salary comes out of grants. And so that's kind of a helpful thing. And then the last thing I have is the activity log, and you guys have a copy of that. So I don't know if you have any questions today or if you'll have them next week, but we do need to vote on the grants next week so I can get them turned in. As soon as I get the MCH back from the state, I'll send it to Gary and he can give it to you guys so you can look at it.
Have they came back and did any of those touch-up things on your awning, like painting and anything like that?
Not yet. I didn't know. They said he said it had to stay like above 40 degrees consecutively before he could paint. So all we got to do is call him, and I think he'll come do it whenever you guys tell me, or whenever I see the weather's going to stay warm for a while.
And as far as the sign, where are we at on that?
Kind of at a halt right now. So just waiting.
You guys got any questions for it?
Thank you, Missy.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Morning, Commissioners. Kevin Friend, Linn County Sheriff. Just numbers this morning is all I've really got. Have 51 inmates in. In my releases this past week, I typed in 17 and it's supposed to be 19. Just so you know, I went back and looked at that and noticed it was wrong. So that was incorrect. We had 19 releases this past week. So 51 total in, have 30 inmates farmed in. 18 of those are Wyandotte. A dozen of those are U.S. Marshals. Total 911 calls is up this week, 135. I think a lot of that was probably because of burning and stuff like that. We had quite a few reports of stuff, but it was actually maybe controlled burns and things like that. We had about 40 of those on Saturday, controlled burns. Jail contacts, 3,589. That's folks going out and servicing people in the jail staff. Total calls for service was 621. That was up, probably nearly 100, well, probably 70 from last week. But I think a lot of that was probably that spring burn-in starting, those calls getting called in. Total civil service papers served were 21, 9 VIN inspections. There were 19 cases open this past week, so patrol and detectives were pretty busy with that. 7 cases closed, 2 vehicle crashes, 130 calls for services through the SRO, 45 calls for services for bailiffs and 148 contacts coming in the front door of the court, and had 2 livestock out calls. I don't think I have anything else for the week, gentlemen, but you may.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything for you, Kevin.
Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate your time.
While we're talking about him, I'm giving the end of the month report for the Linn County Sheriff's Department office. Sorry, Kevin. End of the month total is $2,004.50. I make a motion that we approve.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jessica?
Okay, I've handed you a couple different things. The top one is hay leases for the year. We've got 3 that are up in April, and we need to bid those out. We've got approximately 27 acres at the Lacey Industrial Park, approximately 7 acres at the Linn County Airport, and approximately 163 acres of tillable land and hayfields at the Pleasanton Industrial Park. We have set this up this time for a 1-year lease. We've got 2 more leases that are up next year, and I want to get them all in the same cycle. So this one will just be a 1 year, and then next year they'll be longer. I need approval to publish these.
What do we have at the landfill? Do we have, is it mowing or is it farming, or do we have something there?
There's a little bit of hay ground, and that's up next year.
Oh, that's up next year?
Yep. The landfill and the park are up next year.
Gary, is that going to mess up? I mean, as far as the airport, I know that the reason it's not tax exempt is because we rent that land out, right?
One reason.
Is there anything, I mean,
The exemption, I think in order to get the exemption on the airport, we'll probably, if we're going to continue to lease the hayland, we'll probably have to split that ground off from the airport. We've talked about other options in terms of, maybe asking somebody else to run the airport or something, but in any case, we'll have to split that ground off if we're going to try to get an exemption on the airport.
so if we approve this, and you don't think it's going to hurt us any?
We could still not accept the bid.
And I think the 163 acres doesn't include the airport itself, does it? It just includes.
No, the 70 acres is the airport. The 163 is the industrial park south of Pleasanton.
Yeah, it's the 70 acres is the parts.
The western part, yes.
Yeah.
Where are we at in the appeal process on the taxes?
I'm sorry?
Where are we at on the appeal process with the?
Well, that's the exemption I'm talking about, that we've applied for exemption.
How long will we know on?
Sometimes it takes weeks or months.
Okay.
And my understanding is on that western part that we have an endangered milkweed there that the county is not allowed to mow. But we can rent it out to someone to hay it. So,
On the airport?
yeah.
So we can go ahead and just get the bids and.
And then make decisions.
I think there's nothing wrong with, it's timely. This is the time of the year to do that, I think, if not a little late even. But exactly when are those leases up? They run the first of the year or?
They're either from the they're anywhere in April. There's some that are done the 15th of April, some that are done the 1st. I think there's one that's done at the end. So they're in April.
Are you gonna try to get them to whether at the end of the year each on start once we get them all together? Will it just be year to year or what?
Well, in the past, we've done 5-year leases, there's a caveat that we can pull out or they can pull out as long as we meet certain things.
Okay.
With notice, things like that, but.
I'll make a motion that we allow for Jessica to publish the hay bids on the Linn County properties as presented.
I'll second. Motion moved second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The second page is fuel bids. I got 2 back. I reached out to several companies in the area who service the tanks around, and 2 of them sent back. So I've got MFA and TNK fuel.
And what's this for? Which tanks? How many of them? Is it just the,
This is all of them, all of our fuel tanks. So we've got clear diesel at the landfill and Lacine and the Linn County Park. We've got dyed diesel at Parker, Blue Mound, and Centerville, and we have 2 unleaded tanks. One is at Pleasanton and one is at Linn County Park. We also have, when the new tank at Pleasanton is permitted, that will be clear diesel as well.
And this is prepaying or contracting,
This is contracting, and we pay as we fill.
For a year?
so locking in our
For the year.
price.
The amounts at the bottom, the gallons is what we're contracting for. So 40,000 of clear diesel, 12,000 of dyed, and 500 of unleaded.
The 2022 is what we actually used.
That's what we bought in 2022, yes. And the total there.
does that include, that total include the airport or no? Is that separate?
No, the airport is separate. It's not included anywhere on here.
Okay.
This is just road and
This
bridge.
is road and bridge fuel. And fire. The fire tank over at Centerville is included in this as well. They have a dyed diesel tank.
A dyed diesel tank.
For their trucks. I think we also included the sheriff's generator.
Run dyed diesel in the trucks. On the fire trucks are non-taxable, so we can run dyed diesel.
Yep.
Do you want to, can we go ahead and say the bid prices or? Sure. You good with that, Jessica?
Yep.
You want, go ahead and you can do it if you want.
Okay. So MFA has bid $3.318 plus tax for clear diesel, 3.318 for dyed diesel, and 2.829 plus tax for gas. The total there with the gallons that we're going to contract for is $173,950.50 plus tax. TNK Fuel has bid 3.84 plus tax for clear, 3.59 for dyed diesel, and 3.02 plus tax for unleaded, and their total would be $198,190 plus tax.
And it'll just go through the calendar year, I guess. Is that the way we're doing it? Or is it
Well, it'll go until we'll bid again in February.
February to February?
Who do we use right now?
Well, we don't have a contract with anyone right now.
We just, as needed?
T&K fills the dyed diesel on the west part of the county as needed. We've had MFA doing the eastern part. So we're kind of split. We had a contract that expired maybe 2 years ago, and I believe it was with MFA.
Historically, this is the time of year when fuel prices are at their lowest. I'm not saying it's always that way, but February is when fuel prices are typically contracted.
Are you good with the lower bidder, MFA? You guys good with that? Tim?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we allow Jessica to make up a contract to go into, lock in our fuel price with MFA at $173,950.50.
Well, I think how we'll do it is the per gallon cost, is that right?
Right.
For those number of gallons.
We'll just pay as we get it, but at
I
this
believe so,
price.
yes.
So we're gonna accept the MFA bid
Yes,
for fuel.
yes. Because I don't want to put that total on it, on the
Yeah, I
contract,
get
because we don't know how much the tax is going to be yet, and so.
You got a good motion, Ro?
I'll second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I've just got a couple more things. I had a member from District 1 on the Housing Committee resign. He decided he didn't have time to be involved in that, so I have a replacement for him. I would ask that you appoint Mitch Falls as a District 1 representative on the Housing Committee. He's a realtor and lives in Lacine.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Mitch Falls to the Housing Committee.
I'll second. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. With that being said, Danny, I need one from your district still.
Okay.
And we're working on a housing assessment, and there are committee guidelines for the housing assessment, and I need an elected official on my committee. So if you would like to do it, that would be great. If one of the council members or the mayor from one of the towns in your district would like to do it, that would be great too.
I can speak with him. If not, I can do it. No, not a big deal.
Okay. Thank you.
It's for the, elected official for the housing.
Housing Committee, yep. KDOT, so the Safe Streets for All grant that we got through the bipartisan infrastructure bill for the 12 counties in southeast Kansas. We applied with the Regional Planning Commission. We were awarded $1 million for that study, and KDOT has let us know that they're going to cover 100% of the matching portion for all the counties. So we're not going to have to put in any money for that study.
So we received the grant?
We received the grant, the Regional Planning Commission received the grant, they're going to administer everything, and KDOT is going to put up the matching portion for the grant.
And that is for,
So it's for a road study. We're going to hire, I believe they hire an engineering firm. It's for the Safe Streets for All grant. So they do a road study of the whole 12 county region. And they give recommendations for repairs or expansions for, based on the commerce and the traffic and that kind of thing, the condition of the roads. And then we use that study to go for the construction part of the grant of the bipartisan infrastructure, this Safe Streets for All. There's a planning portion and there's a construction portion. You have to have the plan in place before you can apply for the construction portion.
So if you get the planning grant, are you guaranteed to get the construction grant?
No, you're not guaranteed. But you can't even apply for the second one if you don't have the first one. So this is really good news. They think that it'll be done in 2 years, and then we're planning on applying as a region for the construction portion.
So if we don't get the construction and we bring up if we're in violation of something, do we have a?
Well, no, it's not really a violation, but we can use this study to apply for other grants if the region doesn't receive that and Linn County has something mentioned in that study that we would like to fix or work on or expand or whatever, we can use that study to go out for other grants.
It's called Safe Streets, you said?
Safe Streets for All.
is that actually for asphalt and gravel roads, or or is it something?
I think they're going to put more focus on the highways, but if they find, county paved roads, or I don't think they're going to put much focus on the gravel roads.
Nothing more.
I don't know that they won't look at them at all, but the local road safety plan that we did with KDOT last year, that was more for the county, that was county specific, so that would go into more detail on our county roads. This one will be more highways.
So will it tell us like striping wise, signs or bridges or? Is that what that?
Yep, safety stuff. So, or, you know, expanding to a 4-lane or resurfacing or,
What did you need from us on it? Just
nothing.
Just
Just
tell
wanted to
us
let
about
you know that it's not going to cost us anything. Do you all have
Was the
anything? for me?
matching, what was our part of it?
It was 25%.
25%?
Yes. So KDOT, right off the top, they said that as soon as this grant came out from the feds, they said that anyone who applied KDOT would match, would put up 15% of the 25 for the matching. And so the county split the rest in our application. We split it 12 ways because there were 12 of us. And then after we got the grant, the governor came out and said that any Kansas entity that got that grant, that KDOT would cover the rest of the match.
So what happens if what if we don't get the construction grant and we have all these unsafe regulations or violations on our highways? What do we do?
Well, we use that plan to apply for other grants if we decide that it's bad enough, if the roads are bad enough. I mean, I don't think they're gonna use this as any kind of punitive anything. We're not gonna get docked or penalized. This is just for, improvements. Anything for me?
I don't have anything.
We were talking about the fuel, but do we have a bid for the propane like that too? Did we set into that?
We do that in the summer, yes.
Gotcha.
And MFA has gotten it. So I've handled that the last 2 years. MFA's gotten it both years. I don't know who did it before.
Along in August or so.
I try to do it June or July. It kind of starts to go up in August.
I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jessica.
Sean, are you ready?
Commissioners, I'm gonna slip out, but I'll be back as soon as I can.
All right.
Sean West, Public Works Administrator. First thing you already have, but I've got a bound copy of the study that Peppercorn's going to speak to you today. They sent these after I prepared the one you had. Next thing I have is the equipment list for the next 3 years that I gave you last week. And you'll see that we've already taken care of one of those items. The other items that I have listed on there, they will say north and south shop, or in parentheses, N and S. But they're broke out into the years and the equipment. Page 2 will tell you how quickly those funds that we're pulling that money from will deteriorate and give me a baseline for what I have to recoup each year or roll over into those funds to keep those funds available for the next year's equipment. What I'd like to do, based on this plan, is go out and go for bid on the items listed in the 2023 section and then bring those back to you. Again, you can look the plan over, and then while we're going out for bid on those items, and come up with any recommendations or suggestions, but I would recommend that we go ahead and start getting bids for those items so that I can bring them to you at a later date.
This is what you guys talked about, or you mentioned this last week?
Yes. Gave it to us.
Sorry, I'm just a little behind. Can you, the 2023 is what you want to go out?
Yes. I'd like to go out
All
and
these
get
right here?
bids.
Or what do
We
you,
already have two.
Hey, be on page one, the items listed as
oh,
2023.
right here.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So the planning and zoning
Truck.
is already.
Truck has already been taken care of, and
And we swapped out that truck from planning and zoning to road and bridge, so that truck's already taken care of.
correct.
So those 6 items.
Is one of the park trucks broke down?
We've had repairs on one, but I'm not
I saw
sure that
someone, or one sitting there by Stainbrooks at that, is that?
we've had repairs done on one, but I don't think currently it's broke down because I was there the other day and didn't see it parked there when I dropped my personal vehicle off.
So now that we can use golf carts or UTVs or ATVs, whatever in the park, are we gonna switch to that or? Like as,
We're currently using 2 electric vehicles in the park, one for the cabin maintenance and one is a maintenance vehicle that has a sprayer for the pads that we put on it, and it also carries maintenance equipment.
that come from Evergy, right? Or is that, or no?
No, those were purchased.
One time, didn't they come with us with, they were trying to give us some carts or something? Or am I mistaken?
I know nothing about that. These were purchased as public surplus, maybe Purple Wave or state surplus, but I was at the park managing it when they were purchased and sent to us. Matter of fact, they are on state surplus because they were inspected through that program to make sure that we still had them on site.
So does your estimated replacement cost, does that factor in the salvage value of the current ones, or is this what it's gonna cost us up front and then we'll be
That's up.
liquidating?
That's up front with no liquidation cost or recovery added to that.
Okay.
Do you think like this, like the 2 backhoes, that we actually have to have 2? That's what I'm being asked to bid out of the shops because of the date and age of those backhoes and their serviceability. Now, as far as once I get the RFPs, if you want me to bring the foremans in and discuss the condition of those before we make any decisions, at this point, I'm just asking to get started on the RFP process before it gets later in the year and I end up doing budgets or other things that consume my time.
What I was wondering is if, could we do with just that one traco or one backhoe? Whatever we decide to buy, could we get by with it? I mean, isn't it on both
That,
ends?
I see what you're saying, but that's an operational question that's best left to them because I can't answer that.
How many equipment trailers do we have? Just one, a heavy duty equipment trailer? We just have one, right?
You've got a Pendle hitch in the south shop. I'm sorry, you've got
Boy,
a Pendle hitch in the north shop and at least one heavy lowboy trailer down here. But the Pendle hitch in the north shop is skid steer backhoe. It's not, I don't believe it would hold the track hoe.
I mean, so you're talking a big, like, track hoe, not a backhoe. I mean, they're,
No. Backhoe.
Backhoes are what I'm asking to bid this year. There's no track hoe on the list that I'm aware of.
So a tired machine. A machine on tires that
Correct.
drive down the road.
Correct.
I'm still trying to catch up on everything. Have any more questions for him?
And again, at this point, all I'm asking is to go out to bid for those items, to bring that back to you. And when I bring that back, if you'd like the foremans to be here to answer any questions for operational decisions or equipment replacement needs, then we can do that as well.
I think that would be a good idea.
I just want to bring the numbers back to you so we can answer that part of the puzzle, and then they're going to have to answer for the rest.
So right now, you just you want us to go out for
bids
on, do we need to name all these?
I would think go out for bid on the items listed for the 2023 equipment replacement.
I'll make a motion that we allow Sean to put the 6 items on the equipment listing for 2023 out for bid.
I'll second that. Any more discussion on it? How long do you think it'll take to get that all back?
Once we get the RFPs out, 30 days or less.
Are you going for all new stuff, or are you trying to go to the government auction sites, or?
I'll put the RFP out for new equipment, but then I'll look at the government surplus and other opportunities. But the first thing I'll do is get that process started with the new equipment so I can get new prices on it back.
Motion been moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're on the cost share for the graders. I remember we talked about it multiple times. What was our conclusion on that? I know we're not doing it, right?
Cost share.
Or the buyback program, whatever it is.
That's correct. We decided not to do that.
Okay.
As you know, the Plains owning Victory Motors delivered the vehicle. We have it. We interviewed for the North Shop an individual who has a Class A CDL and qualifies as an operator too, and I would recommend you hire Donald Grand as an operator too in the North Shop at $1649.10.
Say that again. 16.
Donald Grand, operator 2, $1649.10.
I'll make a motion that we hire Donald Grand as an operator 2 in the North Shop for $1649.10.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
As a follow-up to that, our newest trainee in our CDL program will test this week for his permit. As far as road and bridge projects, Hell's Bend letting date has been moved from 6/23 to 8/23. It will move the project into the state funding year for 2024, which appears to be the main goal in the letting date move from the information that I've received. The right-of-way process, we received late last week to start the process of procuring and negotiating right-of-way for that project. I'll get with Gary and we'll go through the process, because in order to receive federal funding for this project, there's a process in which we have to follow to do that. Pleasant and All District, in the near future. Todd's working on it currently, but you'll get his year plan, for the asphalt and road maintenance program for the chip and seal project this year. Also know he's been working with the quarries on, the rock or the chips for that project this year and has been in contact with them. Park policy for golf carts or side-by-sides, Gary has worked on this. Sherry originally adjusted it. It was sent to Gary. And you can see Gary's prepared a resolution. This would allow, with a permit, a driver that is 18 years of age or older to operate a side-by-side or golf cart in the county park on the roadways. This is not,
You said 18, do we police that? I mean, how do we, I mean, what if there's a 15-year-old out there driving, are we gonna, I mean,
the permit that they get when they sign and pick up their permit gives them the understanding of what our policies are, that it's an 18-year-old and that there's insurance or liability on the vehicle that they're operating because they are operating on a roadway.
And there has to be certain lights on there and things.
If they drive at night, the lights have to be equipped as a standard vehicle. But this would allow people to bring side-by-sides or golf carts into the park and enjoy going from their campsite to fishing areas or other recreational areas on the roadway in the park. It does not allow for any off-roadway use of the side-by-sides. This is meant to make it more of a convenience for people to convey around the park to enjoy the recreational areas. And I apologize, the resolution, I did not look, nor did I, when I printed it out. I don't know that Gary or I acquired a resolution number for it. So if you vote on it, we'll need to get a resolution number from Katie for that. Yes. He's got one already? I apologize. I didn't look to see if Gary had got one on there.
Resolution.
you guys ever looked this over? I feel like you guys are waiting on me. I'm just trying to figure it out. You guys got any more discussion on it?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2023 for the UTV and similar vehicle regulations for the park.
I'll second. Motion moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before I talk about
You want this?
the next item I gave you, also at the park, and a side note, the several projects that we've been looking into, one of them is the lagoon and the possibility of dredging needing done in the lagoon. The first part of that project is to contact Kansas Rural Water Association and have a sludge measurement done. They are doing others in our area late this spring and have agreed to contact us and put us on the schedule. That testing costs the county nothing, but it is the first part of the process should we need to desludge those lagoons that must be done. The paperwork I handed you was on the boiler at the courthouse. We talked about the repairs needed to be done and that I had bids on. We're still looking into the other bids and the possibilities, but just to let you know, the boiler itself had an inspection last week. I went through the process because of the leak. We were given a violation with a notice of time to repair. The fire marshal that looked at the boiler immediately told us we're doing the right thing. Pull it down, get all the parts at one time. Don't make this complicated process. He asked me to file for an extension, and you'll see the top email just says that we've been given an extension to wait on those repairs until the time at which we can pull the boiler down and make whatever reasonable adjustments to the system that we want to do.
Did we ever get any information back on what we did to it here a few years ago?
We repaired similar items a few years back, and I believe the cost was near or approximately, I want to say it was $9,000 in that range.
Is there a warranty or anything on that? I mean, I talked to a guy and he was questioning me about it. I'm like, I have no clue. He said he didn't think seals went out that fast, and I think he was part of the last guys that put it in over there. I'm not sure exactly, but I mean, do we have no warranty on something like that? It couldn't have been more than 3 years ago that we just did all that work.
It was approximately that period of time, and I couldn't answer as to the warranties. I'd have to go back and look at the time what paperwork they were given and what warranties they were given. But I would think on any type of gasket or part that anything past 12 months, without having looked at it, I would think anything past 12 months for warranty would be somewhat extreme for a warranty on that type of part. Johnny and Carl attended the Noxious Weed Conference this past week. Johnny will be bringing the same noxious weed plan forward that he did last year. He'll bring a plan to you similar to what he did last year and have you sign off on it, which is part of the requirements for that program. And he'll also be able to update you on the spraying that he's done and what he and Carl plan to do this year going forward. He'll also be able to update you on how the building spraying for the bugs and stuff are going. So it should be a week or two down the road that he should come in and meet with you and go over that plan, but I'll
He
get
is spraying the buildings now?
Yes. Yes. Along with that, I will be out of town for vacation 20 to 24. So the week of the 20th, I'll be gone that week. And then Darren and I will go to a conference on 28 through 30. And that conference will allow me to get my continuing ed for my wastewater operator license, and also for Darren to get his needed initial hours for wastewater operation so that he can start the process and we're hoping to get him tested out by early fall this year so that we have a backup for the wastewater system in Sewerville and at the park. And if you'll give me, right, that with Gary not here, I'll hold off on the legal. I only have one other item to discuss, and that is I'd like to schedule Kenny Boone as a representative from Maple Ranch to come in and meet with you all on the 13th. He would like to propose some roadway projects or a roadway projects. And what I'm asking him to come in for is so that we can get the parameters from the commissioners, and not work on the project and then bring back something that's not going to suit the needs. So I'd like to bring him in, go over that project, make sure he and I both understand what we're working on and that we're both invested in it before we put a lot of time into that project. So if that would be suitable for you, I'd like to bring him in on the 13th, at 10:15.
Should we bring in the Homer Township representative from Missouri too, or?
This is only dealing with the section of roadway that is ours and that we
State line,
maintain.
though?
Yes.
So, I mean, would they still need to be involved with it being,
That would be something specifically between them and Maple Ranch if they made any decision to do that section of the roadway or to work on it. So you can ask Gary, and I'll take whatever recommendations. If you'd like, I'll get with Gary and find out whether he wants a representative here, but I would think just as a lay understanding that we'd want to stay out of that process between them and Missouri.
I mean, do they do all the bridge inspections all the way down the state line, Missouri?
Missouri, yes.
How long is our agreement that section of road is ours? Is it,
We just completed that agreement
but is that, how long? Is that lifetime or what is it? Is it?
until it's adjusted. There is no expiration on that.
So is that just to maintain the gravel, the road?
That is just a maintenance agreement for that section of roadway.
I think it'd be important to bring in Homer Township, but with it being a shared road, but that's just me. I mean, it's more of a Gary question.
I can get with Gary and find that out.
Wait, sorry, Randy, go ahead.
I was just saying, this is just talking about the improvements that they're wanting to see happen out there, correct?
That's
Just
correct.
Trying to make sure that we're all on the same page.
I would like to make sure that we have all of the parameters to that before he and I work together and bring back something after a little bit of work that isn't what you want. I want to make sure we both have a clear understanding of what we need to do going forward, because this project has been discussed and failed once before.
It's been a long, I mean, ever since I've been.
I don't want to put a lot of work into something without us both being on the same
Now,
page.
can we inform him what it is? I mean, we talked about it multiple times, right? I mean, or,
Well, I think he has a different plan than what we have. So I think I would like to have him here and have Todd here to give you Todd's estimation of what we need going forward to make sure that if we do put any improvements there, that the roadway, once we took it on, long-term, it's not going to be a maintenance issue and it's put in the way we want it.
I'm good with meeting with him.
Okay.
I know at one time they were wanting to do some kind of asphalt or something from like, was it 54 or whatever, or rest up to their place, but I don't know what I mean, it's been discussed multiple times. So.
Okay.
Okay, I'll get to work on that. I have nothing else for you this morning. Do you have any questions of me?
I do. I got a few. That lawnmower that was at Neil's, is it taken care of?
I checked on it, or I had Jessica inquire about it, and it has not been repaired yet. They're going to call us when it's
But he
repaired.
knows that's what we want to do.
Yes.
What did we do with the extra van we had? We still got it? Or?
We still have it. We're working through the paperwork process choices, trudging through the logistics on what we have to do to get the clear title to put it out for the auction part of it. So as soon as we get through the paperwork, the back end paperwork of it, they first had to go through the program and see if anybody in the program wanted it. Which with the mileage and condition, obviously nobody was very interested in it. Now we have to go through the part of the process to get rid of it. So we're in the process, but we haven't got there yet to get it published.
The Zener Bridge or Zener Road Bridge, whatever we're calling it. Have you heard anything from the wildlife?
I've heard nothing. I've heard nothing from them since then. And as our last discussion, it's squarely with them. So but I've heard nothing from them on that project.
I went by last night and the road's still blocked off, so, I mean, no, I don't think anyone's been going back there, and I think they kind of have eyes on it if you do, so. Then last week I heard you said something about the HVAC bid. Maybe I'm mistaken, did you not, for the courthouse?
Correct. The issue, they want some information on the historical nature of the building to complete the bid. And I've reached out to the State Historical Society, and I'm still not in good contact with them of trying to acquire all the information that the contractor would need to complete that bid, which is how we would hide conduit, how we would have to place the units outside and shield them from the roadway, or the things that would increase the bid that are required by the Historical Preservation Society. So I'm trying to work on that, but I haven't honestly got a good contact with them yet or got them to call me back.
I had reached out to, somebody had called me and they didn't think they could work on the building without being an approved vendor. And that's not true because we don't receive tax credits over there. So it's not as big of a deal. Like, I think one of the vendors, whoever it was bidding it, said he didn't think he could bid on it or look at it, or he didn't know if he could work on it because it was a historic building. And yeah, that's not true. He can. So I don't know if that was an issue or not.
It hasn't been. I've been contacted by another party that's interested in giving bids on a system for it as well, and waiting for them to do a walkthrough with me.
I had reached out to a preservation company in Kansas City and was asking them a few questions. Because there is quite a few laws and stuff on that, but I think some changed in the last few years. So I'm not 100% sure, but I'm waiting for an email too. So just to let you know. So I never talked to you about it. But.
Okay. Anything else for me?
I don't have.
Thanks, Sean. Recording.
We already took care of him. Okay, fine. We have an executive session. We have
Randy.
Randy. Do you need to get out of here anytime soon, or are you? What did you have? 10 minutes? Would you mind? You're on the schedule actually right now. Would you mind just about 10 minutes? We can go to executive session, talk to him, and we'll be back with you. All right. I'll make a motion. We go into executive session. What is it for? Personnel? With Randy for 10 minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
1 minute.
We had no action in executive session. Gabe, is that right? Gabe, you want to come on up and visit with us and, tell us who you are and what we got going on?
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Gabe Peppercorn. I'm with Peppercorn Engineering and Environmental. And we were contracted to take a look at the existing Linn County transfer station as well as just your general waste management system with the intent of looking at future planning. So with that in mind, the existing system consists of 10 remote collection sites that each have a compactor where people take waste and refuse and it's thrown in compacted. And then those containers are picked up on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, depending on how much trash is being collected at the time. And then those containers are taken directly from those remote sites to a landfill and disposed of. In addition, there's a compactor at the transfer station itself, and that compactor acts the same way. Trash is compacted, and then it's picked up and taken to a landfill. Currently, that landfill is the Crawford County landfill. It's in Arcadia. So essentially what you have is a truck that goes out to 11 different locations, picks up containers, takes each of those containers to Arcadia, dumps them, and then brings them back. So with that in mind, that the first part of this was to look at, is the Crawford County landfill the most economical place to go with this waste? The other option, Allen County has expanded their landfill and is now taking waste as well. So what we did is we looked at the proximity of the landfill to each of these 11 sites, and overall mileage, time, as well as the dump fees at the two different landfills. So in looking at that, we've come to the conclusion that it would be beneficial, you could save $54,000 annually simply by switching from the Crawford County landfill to the Allen County landfill. And those savings comes twofold. One, the overall mileage to pick each of these 11 sites and take them is less to go to Allen County, plus the dump fees are less at Allen County. So that's a change. My understanding is right now you have a contractual obligation with the Crawford County landfill, but should you be able to end that obligation, you could instantaneously save $54,000 annually just by switching the location you're taking the refuge. The second part of this was to look at the existing transfer station with the intent of future planning for that. The existing transfer station, it has a lot of wear and tear, and a lot of that is just due to the nature of operations inside of a transfer station. You've got trucks that are backing in, dumping. You got a loader then that's taking that, it's pushing it over to the compactor. And over time, there's a lot of damage that's happened to that building. Equipment strikes, vehicle strikes. It's a naturally caustic environment too, so the bottoms of most of the structural steel supports have rusted out. And then that's made them vulnerable as equipment hits it and whatnot. The columns are bent, walls are pushed out, concrete walls are busted from vehicular impact. The overhead door's been hit by trucks as they dump and pull forward. They just didn't have their bed down far enough. So regardless, that building is going to need repair. So as part of that, we looked at if it's going to need repair, do we repair it in kind as is, or do we upgrade to a different type of system? And that different type of system is what we call a top load system, where you have trailers that have an open top and the loaders pick up the waste and just dump it straight into the trailer. One of the efficiencies right now is to operate the compactor, it takes two people. The one person has to stand and operate the compactor while the loader loads it. With a top load system, that would just be a one person operation. So just to repair the existing transfer station to keep operations into the future, we're looking at $465,000. Essentially what would need to happen, if you're familiar with that facility, you have the recycling center plus the transfer station. The recycling center is in great shape. That structure is uncompromised. And there's a wall that separates the two. So essentially we just need to remove the existing transfer station and construct a new one. The foundation's been busted, the columns aren't salvageable. So essentially that's a new building in and of itself. So $465,000 to remove and replace that building in kind. So out of prudence, we're looking at, well, if we're going to replace it, what would it take to upgrade it again to this top load system? The existing site logistics there are a little bit tricky in that you have the noxious weed building. So in making this expansion and trying to get from where you have these roll-off trucks, which are, it's just a tractor unit and then the trailer, the container pulls up on it. These top loads are going to be tractor trailer units. So they take a lot more room to pull in, to turn around, et cetera. So that's where I've got a graphic on page 9 that shows that potential layout. Again, it's just difficult to get tractor trailers into a confined area like that. But it is possible. So the cost to retrofit that site for top load units is estimated at roughly $1.2 million, $1,215,000 to reconfigure the existing site for top load trailers. So essentially you're looking at an additional $750,000 to upgrade that facility to a top load trailer system. But that comes with a much more efficient long-term operation in that if we have a top load system where you can handle a lot more waste, all of those 11 sites, rather than being picked up and taken to another county for landfill disposal, those containers can be brought to the transfer station, dumped, and then whenever you have enough refuge, they can all be loaded into a top load trailer and then trucked off to the landfill at one time. So there's some inherent efficiencies as well. And what we're looking at there is, you could say, a yearly anticipated savings of $68,000 to upgrade to a top load system. That's going to require some additional investment in equipment as well. And that's what we're looking at, what's called a walking floor trailer. So in these top load trailers, you have two options. One, the truck can go to the landfill, can raise its bed and dump. That there's some problems with that at the landfill, in that landfills, you're not dumping on a solid surface. So you're typically in a semi-muddy environment. And those trucks can become unstable as they dump. So the industry has gone to what's called a walking floor trailer. If you're familiar with those, with the floor kind of, they oscillate independently, and then the trash just kind of slowly moves to the back of the truck. And it's a safer and more efficient way to dump. So what we're looking at is purchasing 2 of those trailers and then a tractor to pull them. And that's estimated at $410,000. So essentially, you're looking at a cost, regardless, to upgrade the existing facility of just north of $400,000. Or there's an additional $1.16 million to go to this walking floor system. But your savings there is roughly $68,000. So what we're looking at is roughly a 20-year payoff to upgrade that facility. It would pay for itself in 20 years. Another aspect of this is the C&D landfills currently are filling up. And I think in the near future, you're going to be looking at opening up new cells, possibly a new location. And if you're doing that, then looking at a transfer station as well. These costs would be roughly the same for a transfer station on a virgin site. The one thing that wouldn't be taken into account is getting water, sewer, things like that to an office building that would be associated with that transfer stations. That's one of the benefits of staying where you're at, is that you already have those utilities, you have the infrastructure there. The problem with the existing site is it's somewhat congested, and it's not going to allow you to set up that transfer station in the most efficient way.
And how long, Sean, do you know how long do we have on that current site with those cells? I mean, is it a 10-year deal that we're going to have to rethink this again, or what?
No, the current cell, we've approximated 2 to 3 years use out of that cell, which is what we saw with the other. And that's why Paragon is looking at permitting raising the level of 5 of those cells to allow us to dump and get another
But
2 to 3.
would it be
years
more
out of that.
beneficial just to go across the street and build this rather than just, I mean, it's gonna take 20 years to pay it off, but, I mean, we're gonna be completely full by the time we get it paid off. So would it be,
Well, the issue is, if we were to go with a plan like this, by the time this plan was enacted and a facility built and all these other things, the current process we're doing, bringing those cells up, would allow us the timeline that we would need to do any future planning, decision-making, things of those nature.
You're thinking
We just wouldn't have enough time to enact a new plan without making the changes that we're doing now.
you're thinking we need to move across the road? Or
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
why
that's
can't we just dump across the road? We can open cells across the road and do something along those lines and keep our footprint over there and just continue to operate under our existing structure without starting over.
you said you thought that you anticipated that the cost from a ground up would be the same as this remodel?
With the exception of a potential lagoon or
Really?
some way to get
Now, if we did,
bathrooms across the
if we
street.
did this plan you have wrote out right here, that goes over oh no, it doesn't go over it, never mind. But don't we have a issue with our lagoon and some drainage we got going on that transfer station floor?
Yes. Currently, all of what we call leach water just drains right out the front of the building, which is not the preferable arrangement. You'd want it to go into a holding tank. You have a holding tank there, but the floor drains are plugged up, so that they essentially don't function. Now, the lagoon, the lagoon is perfectly functional. One of the things that we looked at a few years ago was adding bathrooms and facilities to the noxious weed building, and if adding bathrooms at that lagoon would facilitate that, and it would.
But would it be beneficial do you guys think it'd be beneficial, Sean? Do you think it'd be beneficial because one time we talked about moving them back over here, remember, Jim? Over here beside the road department, building. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we talked about it back in the building.
Would it be more beneficial to move them out of Prescott? I mean, is that building in the place or in that way? Is it gonna cost us more money to do this plan with that building there? Having them on site?
It will not, what it does is it limits your options to how to set that up. So the preference would be to take that building out and for the trucks to swing around and come in 90 degrees from where I show in this picture. And we looked at those configurations, but all of them require just to make the turning movement for the truck, taking out that noxious weed building. But that would be the preference, is that the trucks come into the back of the building, the tractor trailers. So all the refuge comes in exactly the way the overhead door is right now, and then it's just pushed straight to the back and loaded onto trucks. So it would be a far more efficient operation if the noxious weed building were not there.
And would it save us a lot of funds doing it that way?
You're saying take the building down, that's what you're saying there.
Yes, so that, basically so the trucks can pull in where that building is and be able to turn and come in where I'm essentially 90 degrees to where they are right now. If the noxious weed building were to remain there, I would recommend a virgin site. But if the building were not there, then I'd recommend staying on the site that you're at.
Are you familiar with the one that Garnett has or Anderson County, their tip and floor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sean, how do you feel about that building over there? I've never been to the building.
The building, the south shop for the noxious weed department, we looked at it, and it has some utility issues that are gonna be a hurdle to move into that building or to clean it up. Currently, they're using it to house the skid steer and tires for their heavy equipment. But the biggest issue is gonna be the cost to get, I believe, water and sewage to it.
With the walking floor trailer, we'd also have to have a new loader, would we not?
You would, yes.
It'd be a wheel loader for loading it. Our skid loaders wouldn't be able to pack enough trash in. We'd have to have
Yeah, we just
something
have
along those lines.
63 out there right now. It's just a
A track loader.
Sean, I mean, do you think it'd be more beneficial? I guess, I mean, which one's gonna be the best option for us? Leave it there or come over here and do it or put it in one of our buildings?
That would be something we need to get the numbers for moving that department and what the building, would need, to move them in, and we need to have a work session and sit down and go through the numbers and develop a plan on if we're gonna take that building and move that department. But I think that would have to be in an overall plan of how we would budget for these expansions and what we can afford. I think the whole process would be one large or multiple large work sessions with us to look at the plan that they've given us and see how we enact it and how we pay for it.
So if we were building, we would just do a transfer station across the road, or we would still have, we'd move our recycling center over?
It'd be my recommendation to keep the recycling center where it is,
So it'd just be a new transfer
just for a
station.
new transfer station.
And how does that affect us, Sean? As far as, are they interconnected, our recycling versus the transfer station?
Just a wall, like a.
I know, I've been over there.
Personnel.
I'm talking about our manpower, how we're utilizing it.
If you went to a walking forward trailer system, that's basically a one-man operation. Cars loading, it shouldn't interfere with the recycling or the.
But do they need to be side by side, or?
It's beneficial to have them in close proximity, but even if we went with this plan, we'd have to move that part of that operation that we're tipping for away from the main building. So you're talking logistically, what, another 100 feet across the roadway compared to walking 75 to 100 plus behind the building. So
Okay.
It was my observation that there are some efficiencies in the two being connected. Be it that when there was no trash being dumped or, you know, the transfer station wasn't utilized, those workers were then separating recyclables, they were bundling cardboard, just what I had observed. So that there are some efficiencies having the two together because you have one that's on demand, which is when a truck pulls in and needs to dump, those guys go do that. But the vast majority of the time, there's no one utilizing the transfer station, and then those workers are then in the recycling center. So that there are some inherent efficiencies. And that they share an office, which is,
How much do you think we'd save if we did get rid of this building?
you mean by located on a new site or?
Just bringing them over here and getting that building out of the way to be able to do what you initially thought was a better plan.
The noxious weed building.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have a number, I mean, but that's what you would suggest, right? I mean, that's what you said.
It's possible that this configuration may not really even be a possibility with the noxious weed building there. Again, just because of the nature of how you want to dump the waste and then how you want to push it and load it. So I would say it may be the case where you don't have that option if the noxious weed building is there.
So if we did away with that building, they would come in right here like this and just turn.
Correct. So what they would do is they would come in right here and then pull this direction. So then, like the trailer sitting here, the tipping board's here, and then the loader just takes it straight and then dumps it into the trailer. Right now, the trucks are dumped and the loader has to come this direction. The problem is, like he backs up, you're gonna risk running into the wall, partition wall. If he's just backing out the front, you can get more room. So this configuration really is not advisable. It'd be more advisable.
So it's your professional opinion to get rid of that?
Yes.
Why don't we just have the road coming in there?
There is another, we got another building right here too, like a little car garage or something used to use for impounds, I believe. Is that what it was, Gary?
I'm sorry.
Over here behind the noxious weed, there's another building. It's empty though, isn't it?
I don't know.
Is
To
for
the south, there is an empty structure, a steel building to the south of it.
But we still own the land on the south side of the noxious weed building.
That's correct.
But I mean,
But if we have to if we do keep that, you said the bathrooms and all that need to be redone in it, you said to keep up, or the plumbing or something? Or who said that? You? Or,
Sean had said, and from what I understood him saying, it's to move that current facility to the one that you proposed. The proposed facility did not have,
but the current one doesn't need bathroom upgrades or something?
it does not have a bathroom currently.
It doesn't have a bathroom. So is,
Your current facility has a bathroom
Has a holding tank, pardon me.
and a holding tank, so that facility is self-sufficient. It's whether or not we take the building out to make the truck route, or we look at the possibility of either move the building, take it out, or move the operation, take it out, or do we reroute to the south of there and make a wider roadway? And that's just something we're gonna have to look at. And
I think that
like said,
makes more sense.
come up with a funding mechanism for how much of this plan is not implemented.
Just by changing landfills though, right now, we can say 54,000 a year, right?
Correct.
I think something we should do ASAP.
That's pretty good savings, I'd say.
What's, Al think of that? I mean, is that, not to interrupt you, but transferring, landfills, is that something we can do ASAP if we're gonna save 54 grand?
I think that's a very question as far as our contractual agreement with the current landfill.
We have, I don't have the contract with me, but as I recall, we basically have to give them a year notice. Isn't that right? Isn't that how you?
I have a copy if you'd like to look. Yes, that's my understanding.
If we're going to terminate the contract.
But they've been increasing our rates more than what they had said in our contract.
I think there is an argument to be made that they have, yeah.
Okay,
Can we make an
so
argument to get out of it ASAP?
Huh?
Can we make an argument to get out of it ASAP?
I think that's what we want to look at, Gary.
We'll
Right.
look at it.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think? Yeah.
Well,
They've been increasing our rates, they've added surcharges, they've,
Is that the contract?
Yes.
that are
You wanna
costing
sit
us
down,
more.
you can, if you want to sit down, you can bring a chair up here. We got a mic right here if it's easier for you. And I'm interrupting you a lot. All right, sorry, now I got you off track. Go ahead.
Well, that was really the culmination of it. Again, there's a savings that is just a contractual mechanism. You know, as long as you can execute that contractual mechanism, it's, you know, like I said, that's pretty much a no-brainer. Between two things, one, your transportation cost is less, and then two, the dump fees are less as well. Then the real question, you know, you have a facility that you're going to need to upgrade regardless. You upgrade it to operate as it currently operates, or go with the top load option.
You probably don't, do you see many transfer stations like this anymore where you back in?
No, we do not. That's where I'm not so sure that this would work necessarily.
So you've got the scale house sitting back here.
We'd probably do is put the scales like somewhere right here, so they pull onto the scales.
And then rotate over. So if we move the scales back there, took down that garage we're not using.
Is there some kind of, oh, that's the the tanks are back there, but isn't there some wells in between there somewhere? No, is that further out in the field or on the property?
Wells.
Some kind of, isn't there some kind of like wells or something out there that have to be checked every year? Or every 4 years or something like that?
You'll have observation wells in on the landfill.
It's on the landfill itself.
Some of them are off, like they'll be a certain distance away from the cell just to see if water's leaching out.
One of my questions, and sorry to repeat everything again this morning.
would be, is the total cost of the project if we implemented it with the walking trailer. Is engineering that project built into that, or would that?
It is not.
Okay, so the engineering
construction and
would be
equipment
added
costs.
to it.
I mean, what, if we were to do the walking floor, what would we have to do different out there to make that work?
From what you currently have,
Or from what you have proposed right here?
so that is for a walking floor
Oh,
trailer.
this, okay, this one is, okay.
The 1.2.
The overall cost is roughly 1.65 or so,
With the-
but taking into account that you're going to have costs incurred regardless, that 1.2 is additional cost. So that additional cost is what we're looking to amortize over 20 years.
The 1.2 is in addition to the 465,000? Okay.
The 1.2 referenced on page 11. So the construction of the building, 1.25, then you add the equipment, the walking floor trailers plus a tractor, so then you're at roughly 1.65 or so.
Okay. We wouldn't have the 465,000 of
Oh, so-
replacing it. It's not on top of that though, correct?
No, it is not.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
so-
you. That was where I was getting crossed up.
So Sean, best case scenario, how long do we have for those sales that where we're at right now? I mean, if we can extend everything out to the maximum, how long do we have right there?
Estimate that you're looking 5 to 6 years down the road, that's a ballpark.
But after that point, we're gonna open up cells somewhere else right around there.
You're gonna go through the expense of closing those cells, which there are 5 of them currently open, and then you're gonna go through the process of opening new cells.
But the engineer to get them to go higher, is like, how much, we have a price on what that's gonna cost to do all that?
We just spent $25,000.
We entered into.
I mean, for like,
We don't have that back.
like the operations of it to do it.
We don't have that
No,
back.
because they couldn't tell us how much fill was available there on site to elevate it, so until they got on site and got their work done, they couldn't tell us what the cost of improving those cells would be.
Cause I mean, you're not gonna move the entire operations 20 miles.
Yeah.
You know, it's still gonna be sitting there.
Just across the road.
I think even if you're opening up cells across the road, having your scale and your office and your transfer station on the other side really doesn't hamper the operation because again, the trucks are going to pull in on the scale, they're going to get their ticket at the house, at the scale house, and then they can just drive across the street to dump. So you really don't, a guy may walk across with them, just to
It
show.
happens at other transfer stations.
Yes, yeah. So it's not as though if you open up cells on the other side of the road that you need to have facilities over there. I think you could still operate just as efficiently. The real question was if that noxious weed building needed to stay. It'd be my recommendation to relocate it when you relocate the C&D landfill. However, if that building is negotiable, I would recommend staying where you are for the efficiency of running the recycling center with it. Plus you have your office there, you have restroom facilities. So it'd be my recommendation to stay there unless the site constrictions required you to go elsewhere.
Okay.
The only bummer is just, it's difficult to get a tractor trailer in there. Just, it's set up for, again, those roll-off trucks and they have a much easier turning radius.
You got anything else that you want to add to it?
Nothing
I'm
really, no.
trying to study it.
To add to it, it would be my professional recommendation that you really look at going toward consolidating your operations and going to these larger top load trucks, albeit a walking floor, moving floor, tipping truck. Just in observing the system, it looks very inefficient to go around to these 11 sites, not knowing if the container's full, empty, overfull, so not only is the guy picking up the container, but if it's full, if the container was full, then people just started leaving trash to the side. He's there, he's loading it by hand. So it seems to me that would be much more efficient, and you have less risk if these trucks aren't going a county away. I think it would make sense to consolidate the operations.
What do we run it? Sean, do we got 2 trucks a day going twice a day? Is that what that goes down there? To
There are
Arcadia?
2 trucks in the operation, but Al would have to tell you how much they operate each day. There's a schedule at each site on the pickups. But Al, in the past, I talked to him about, in order, like in some of your lake communities, in order to make sure they make a holiday weekend or other things, we either have to dump again, or pick up again, and take a partial load, or they don't have an empty container for a 3-day weekend, or we have to send somebody in there. So we can give you the numbers on the tonnage of those trailers, but there is quite a bit of waste as far as the trailer compaction in the schedule that we have to keep in transferring them out to the landfill. Where this system would take away from that waste and that empty space.
Because we wouldn't be hauling them as far.
How many trailers do you think we'd be taking there a week?
I'd say you probably take 2 trailers a week. Roughly, in talking to Al, you're probably dealing with roughly 80 tons on an average week.
You take 2 trips to the landfill versus.
Versus 22 right now.
22?
Yes. If you empty each of your 11 sites twice.
And that's how we're
What
saying.
condition are do we have 2 trucks or what do we have?
We have 2 roll-off trucks, in my understanding.
Are they in good condition?
One is newer than the other, but as far as the mechanical condition, I can tell you, going to the landfill we currently go to, it's hard on your tires because it's not a hard surface roadway and you're driving across.
We still have to keep those trucks to transfer
Yeah, to
from
transfer.
landfills or from the.
Okay, put in the contract that's hard on our tires, that's what we have.
And on one occasion, we lost a drive shaft coming back from Allen County, or Crawford County.
So we'd have 2 walk-in floor, this price for 2 walk-in floor trailers?
Yes.
What about a semi? Is it
That's factored in as well.
Oh.
A $200,000 semi.
the semi and the trailer?
And 2 trailers.
The trailers are roughly 100,000, depending on what type of suspension, what type of tarping system. But 95 is your base price, 105 is, really nice suspension and a really good tarping system. And these are steel trailers as opposed to aluminum, just because the nature of dumping waste into them, you want to have a pretty heavy duty trailer.
Right.
The condition of our compactors throughout the county, what are they? Are we gonna be spending money on them pretty quick like?
We were doing quite a bit of maintenance, and as they break down, parts availability and the years that they've been in service also factor into the compaction rate, and what they can fill those trailers, or boxes. So yes, a lot of these machines are very dated.
What do we have? Is there 7 or how many is there?
10.
There's 11
Or
total.
11?
And this system is unique unto Linn County.
The way we do it's unique?
Just the compactor system, where you have 11 remote sites. More typically, what you would see is a commercial hauler that's going out and picking up dumpsters, and then they're bringing them to your transfer, not the dumpster, but they're putting it into their trash truck. So that these compactors that the county operates, that's a somewhat unique system.
We
The
love
more,
our citizens here.
pardon me?
So we love our citizens here. We do.
Well, and it's outside the scope of this study, but, that was one of the things that was brought up, was that it is something that the citizens have come to appreciate, and switching, straight over to a commercial hauler would that's a political decision as opposed to a dollars and cents. It seems as though you have about half and half. A lot of the citizens have dumpsters that looks like L&K or Waste Management, so that they do operate in the county. So you kind of have 2 parallel systems right now. But then the communities, that they may have a trash pickup plus one of these compactors outside of town as well. But yes, it looked like you had to have someone that was manning the compactor to operate it. A few of them that I went out and visited, you had employees that were there and, kind of.
Which I think that's covered by the cities, right?
Yeah, the city provides the.
Exception of Centerville.
Right. Yes.
That's ours.
Is that all you have for us? You got any more recommendations on anything?
Not necessarily, just, further, not necessarily further, but just to give you the information that you guys need going forward. One, to tell you that the building is structurally compromised and you need to probably implement a 2 to 3 year plan. Just as that building gets dinged and dinged over the, course of the next couple of years, it's going to become unserviceable. So in that planning process, do you plan for a bigger building or replacing in kind? And it'd be my recommendation to plan for a bigger building and consolidate operations because it is going to be more efficient over the long.
What's our total we have on that contract that we pay them a year?
So you pay, only because I reviewed the records of the past couple of years, you pay by the ton. So we looked at last year's rates to come up with the per tonnage price. So let me look at.
So if we were to open an operation across the street, could we accept debris from other counties like they're doing it and making money off of it?
No, I don't think, we don't want that kind of landfill.
It's far more difficult to permit a household waste landfill than it is a C&D landfill.
Gotcha.
But it looks like last year you had 4,468 tons total.
Is that in here?
Yeah, it's footnote number 5 on page 3. And your total cost that you paid Crawford County landfill was $148,650. Was your total receipts in 2022.
So if we didn't do anything here, we still have to figure out the drainage system.
Yes.
Issue we have going
And the
on
building,
The building
in the
itself.
building.
because it's structurally compromised.
Honestly, I'm really not sure what's holding it up. Columns do not touch the ground. They're rusted out near completely. I think it's just the skin of the building, just the exterior metal that is holding the majority of the support up.
Sounds amazing.
What do you think, Jim?
Something we need to look at, I'm sure.
I don't have any other questions, Gabe. Thank you.
So I know that, Sean, what do you want to do? I mean, how do we get going on this to figure out what we're going to do? Do you want to get Al in here and we do a workshop? Do we want to bring in Gabe and sit down, or you guys already talk enough, or what do we want to do?
I think a study session would be advisable. And bringing Al in, he's kind of the nucleus of the operation.
I do think that, first of all, we need to figure out the legal issues with Gary about our contractual obligations. And then we need to do a work session or two, not only with Al, but with David, and probably Jessica, and look at funding mechanisms and opportunities there. Because we need to develop an overall plan to be able to not only complete this in a timely manner, figure out what we're going to do to operationally make this work, but we also need to figure out the funding mechanisms that we're going to use to pay for this.
What kind of contract, we don't have a contract with the cities, I'm sure.
With who?
The cities about,
Most of the cities, we have some kind of a written agreement. I don't know if we have all of them in hand, but we have some kind of a written agreement with them that spells out that what we will provide and what they will provide.
I think it would be a good idea to switch landfills no matter what, see about getting out of contract, whatever it takes, get moved to
I think we do
Allen
that.
County.
I think we do that as soon as possible, right? I mean,
We'll look at how, like, it's 180-day notice, but, if they're in material non-compliance,
flat tires, they're giving us flat.
well, I'm thinking more in terms of if they have raised, I haven't looked at their billing, but if they have charges that they didn't have the authorization to charge,
I would think we could move as quick as possible if we can get the safe or get out of the contract.
Would it be a good time to bring in each city or each place that has a compactor and we all discuss an ongoing agreement with them and figure out if that's the best way we're doing it, or?
well, I think philosophically, I think probably you need to know what you want to do before you,
So, I mean, I know like Pleasanton was wanting to move. I mean,
at one time, they wanted to move their,
yeah,
yeah.
but
Pleasanton's unique just because the transfer station is right there. So that compactor, just in my opinion, when I went out and looked at it, I thought, well, gosh, you got two compactors that are 2 miles from each other, for what it's worth.
you mean Prescott?
Apartment Prescott.
Prescott, yeah, we had talked about, that's been brought up. And it's probably the best, the one inside Prescott's probably our best equipment we have, you think?
As far as mechanically,
Yeah.
I believe compared to the other units, it's better than most.
And because we pick up the containers when they call us, right?
We have a schedule.
Oh, we do have a schedule.
And sometimes you're picking them up, they may only have 2 tons of waste in them. And that's, there's just really no way to know, without a better,
And we're taking a trip with it.
yeah. And then you're taking a 75-mile round trip with it.
Right.
So I guess is it our plan moving forward? Do we want to deal with this project first and then deal with that later? Do we want to bring it all together, get everyone's opinion on it and make a complete plan, or
Deal with what later?
like the individual cities talking about agreements and?
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest that if you decide,
So-
for example, that you're going to do a plan that involves changing from the 11 compactors to a different.
And I'm not saying we should change. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but if you decide you're going to do that, that's when you would then go to the cities and say, we're changing this setup. And
So I think this stuff has to happen regardless of what we do here.
Right, I agree.
So we start making these plans
With the
and getting this in place. And if during that we determine that these sites are cost prohibitive, then we start making the other issues, taking up those other issues.
I think the first domino is the transfer station. And if you were to upgrade that to a larger tipping floor that you could load larger trailers with, that would allow you in the future, 10 years down the road, if you were to change the nature of the compactor operation, if it went more to a commercial operation. At present, if too many commercial trucks come to your transfer station, you can't offload those and load your compactors.
Fast enough.
At this point, you need those offsite compactors because your transfer station cannot handle a centrally, located.
What would be available for us at our 11 locations that would be better equipment to take to Prescott than what we have now if we continue gathering it? But I mean, is there something that would be?
What I see more are commercial carriers that are picking up the household waste, either be it city streets, there's going around picking up the waste, and then bringing them in those trucks that compact it themselves, the trash truck that compacts it. So that's your more efficient operation, is a truck that takes it straight from the household
Each house.
to the transfer station.
There aren't other compacting systems in place.
I'm sure there are, I'm just not aware of them.
What's our lifespan on these compacting machines at each site, these 11? Do you think we're gonna get another 20 years out of them, or, I mean, what does one cost to replace?
That's going to be an Al question as far as the maintenance to it.
That's my.
As far as cost, I can bring that to you. And I think that's the next part of this is we need to look at bringing all those numbers together in a work session and saying, okay, what's the viability of these systems and which parts of these can we change? And we fund the change immediately. But that's something we need to.
But regardless, we're still gonna need to have a way to offload those trucks and haul it to a landfill,
Correct.
regardless of how our outside systems work. outside
Correct.
of the Landfill.
Correct, unless we went to an all-commercial system where we got out of the compactor business. But that's
But they would still be dumping at our landfill to transfer.
correct. The difference is now you bring all those in from those sites to, instead of bringing them in, we haul them directly at our cost. If we brought them into a walking floor trailer system and filled it, we would still bear the cost of that, not only the fuel and manpower cost, but we take that tonnage cost, because when commercial haulers dump at Prescott and it's paid by the consumer, then the commercial hauler pays a fee for the tonnage they dump there, and we recoup. We not only don't lose the money for the transfer, we recoup our tonnage that we then take down to another landfill. So you start cutting your costs back immensely, but it does go back to the commercial use or the residential user through a commercial hauler. So
What if we go out back here where it's at and build our tipping floor away from what we got? Just, I mean, back here in the parking lot, build the tipping floor and we wouldn't have to take the building down. Build something back here.
Yes,
as far
that's
as,
an option as well.
as far as instead of having to move things and.
What I kind of focused on was keeping the two attached. However, if you were to have it as a standalone building, that's, and the noxious weed
It
wasn't
wouldn't
there.
be, we wouldn't, even if we left the noxious weed there and went back there and built a building, we've got plenty of room back behind to build one, and then that would take all the congestion away from where we was pulling the trucks in. And we could build just the tipping floor.
Yes.
We could still utilize our people. I mean, it wouldn't be that far to walk from. We wouldn't have to move our scales.
Regardless.
Pardon me?
We're gonna have to move our scales regardless.
Why?
Probably. So what are you proposing?
If we go back behind and build another, just the tipping floor back behind, why would we have to move our scales?
Yeah. Kind of set the building up right here.
That's what I'm saying, back out there somewhere. And then it would stop us from moving our scales and
Correct.
Okay.
You're just talking a standalone building?
just a standalone building as far as the tipping floor and leave everything else. And even if we had to take the back side of it off, like what you said, and get rid of the, because you're saying half the building is roughly what's bad, right?
A quarter of it, third of it.
I think we can logistically figure that out, though.
Pardon me?
I think we can logistically figure that out, how they're gonna operate through there and make it functional. If we can save for moving the scales, I'm all for that too, Jim.
Well, it's just a cost. I think it's going to take us a lot of money. And if we could move the building out back away from what we have, it's not that far to walk from one to the other.
So if just to say if the 11 stations and throughout the county went by, I'm not saying that, so don't, Barb, but would we, I mean, the operation that we'd build would still be able to hold all that?
Yes, so the size of your current transfer station really depends on having those 11 remote sites where that trash is not coming to the transfer station. If you were to have a larger tipping floor, that would allow you 10, 15 years down the road, that option. If you were to just, at present, say we want to we would like to work away from those, you really don't have that option now, just because those commercial haulers would still have to go to Allen County, Crawford County, just because you don't have the capacity at your current transfer station. So not as though you have to make that decision right now, but going with
How much bigger would you think it'd have to be?
at least twice as big to have two overhead doors. And so right now you're roughly 20 feet long. We would need it to be roughly 50 feet long to get that whole trailer into a covered. If it's a 55-foot trailer, then your building probably needs to be 50 feet long.
I mean, that's right here. That's what you're proposing right here is this building. We would be able to, if we went with this plan, we would be engineering the building so that we could do it in steps if necessary, where we can take,
I was meaning if you built that building back here like you were talking.
but it's this building.
Yeah, about 50 by 60.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
We just wouldn't set it right here. We'd set it back here.
Sounds like we got some work to do.
Okay.
Sean, what do you want to do on a workshop plan day?
Like I said, I'll get with Gary throughout the week. We'll discuss the contractual issues. I'll get him more information from Joyce in the building, and then we can, going forward, I'll set some time aside and work with David about getting time for us to sit down and do some workshop and discussions. And we'll just have to start talking about what parts of this we can fund at one time, or where we would find the money to do this, because the expansions we're doing right now should give us the time to work through this process.
I personally don't want it to be pushed down the road, though. I want to get answers on it, and if we're going to use ARPA funds or whatever we're going to do, I think we need to get a plan together ASAP on what we're going to do.
I don't perceive that being an issue, but I do want to look at the first steps of the contract, and then start taking it a piece at a time so that we can start planning for each step of the process, because it's going to be, no matter what we do out there, the changes are going to involve engineering, contractual agreements, other things. So I think we need to take our time and take each piece as we go and plan the funding for it as we go, so that we know that we're not creating an extra burden on anyone.
But we'll try to see as far as the contract and see where we're at, and that's the first step to get
That's the first step, no matter what.
get changed.
And the other stuff can be done simultaneously with
Right.
that, or
Okay.
consecutive.
Sounds good.
Gabe, thank
Appreciate
you.
your time, Gabe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to meet you guys.
Sean, as far as the drainage and the thing we were hit for out there, do we have a timeline on that? Do we have that drainage issue we have out there? I know that we told KDHE we were going to talk to engineers and stuff. Do we have any timelines on getting that thing?
As far as the tipping floor drainage and the other things that were in the original study, no, there's not a timeline or
We just got to get it.
an exigency to it. I would imagine it will resolve itself when we take that building out. So I don't think we should spend a lot of time on it, because that issue is going to disappear as soon as that tipping floor is gone.
Okay.
I can't speak directly to what PDHE is trying to do, but it's been my past experience with them that, implementing things like this, show that you're thinking about it, working towards a long-term solution. That's really what they're wanting to see. Not so you're going and making the changes that you're going to have for the year.
Right.
If you were looking to say, hey, our tipping floor is compromised, and we're looking at a new one, that's what they're looking to see.
Okay, good. I appreciate all the effort and time you put in on this, so.
Look forward to discussing it in the future.
Thank you, Gabe. Commissioners, do you have anything for me?
I don't have anything. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Do what?
The ARPA funds, how much?
Mike White. How much of the ARCLA funds are available.
I believe we have, is it 800? 800, is it 817?
Yep.
Yeah, we have $817,000 that we haven't allocated towards anything yet that we're,
So that could all be allocated towards this, or?
I don't know. I don't think we've ever really talked about that exactly. We're trying to figure it out.
What's the limits on when this money has to be
I
used
think
up by?
Jessica knows best, but I think it's 2 years, isn't it?
2025,
2025 is what I thought.
ARPA funds, the limits.
I think they have to be allocated by the end of 24 and not by 25. Okay.
That's kind of why this is all coming up, because we got to figure out.
So can those funds be used for all parts of the project? I mean, like even engineering and all that, or
It can be used basically for anything.
anything?
So the landfill counts as a governmental purpose, and because we took those funds as revenue loss, we can use them for any governmental purpose. Yes.
Okay.
You guys got any more discussion on that?
I don't have any.
You have anything we needed?
Danny, were you going to talk to the commissioners, or maybe
Oh,
you did about?
Yeah. Burton, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the hell? I told him I'd shoot him a text and let him know right before we called, so. Burton wanted to visit with us, and he's, family matters, so I'm gonna send him a text and try to get him on the phone where he can talk to us real quick.
Okay.
You guys wanna go ahead and just take a 5-minute recess?
Darren, you got Darren here yet?
Oh, do I? That's what I was looking for my schedule. Do what I got this Darren? All right, Darren, go ahead. You want to come on up? Sorry about that. I don't even know what I did with my.
Good morning, Darren Wilson, Planning and Zoning Director. I have a zoning change for Kenneth Eastwood, located west of Nickel Road and Kansas Highway 7 and commonly addressed as 7434 Kansas Highway, Mound City, Kansas, 66056. Applicant has been approved for a lot split of 3.14 acres to sale or lease. Under current zoning agricultural, the parcel is below the minimum 10-acre size and requires rezoning as ag residential. The Linn County Planning Commission on January 18th, 2023, published a notice of public hearing to consider rezoning application number 2301. Linn County Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on February 14th, 2023 to consider said rezoning. The Planning Commission, after review and consideration of all plans, reports, and testimonies, did by an 8-0 vote recommend approval of said rezoning based on the following findings. The proposed change conforms to the character of the neighborhood. The proposed use conforms to the uses and zoning class nearby. The proposed change will not negatively affect nearby properties. The proposed change conforms to the adopted comprehensive plan. The proposed change does not affect current infrastructure. Staff recommends approval of this zoning change.
What was the vote?
8-0.
8-0. Yeah, resolution number 2023-15.
2023. It's got a name, a name on it. So we're just going from agriculture to residential?
Ag-res.
Ag to ag residential.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2023-15.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Hey, did you have a resolution for me to sign?
It's the same one? Oh, it's a different one?
The second one is a revocation of the CUP.
Yes. This resolution, number 2023-16, is a resolution to revoke a conditional use permit number 2107 for RB Towing and Recovery LLC. The Linn County Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on February 14th, 2023, to revoke the conditional use permit for the installation and operation of a truck auto towing, recovering, repair lot in the heavy industrial zone. The Planning Commission, after review and consideration, reports and testimony, did by an 8-0 vote recommend the revocation of conditional use permit based on the following findings. They did not meet the conditions set forth in the original conditional use permit number 21-07, did not provide economic development the proper paperwork that was asked for, did not start in a timely fashion set forth in the zoning regulations, and Linn County still owns the suggested property. Staff recommends revocation of this conditional use permit, and it did vote in favor 8-0.
That was over at Pleasanton, it's south, south of Fad going there.
And everybody got proper notice and so forth for the hearing.
Is that the one where they were gonna do a fence or?
They were gonna do a tow lot and then they wanted to build a garage to work on vehicles. But that was all conditional on buying a piece of ground for the county and they knew.
Yeah, didn't we asked for financial? Did they? So are they still, they're still operating in the county though, right? I mean, are they on your tow rotation?
Yes.
So this ain't messing with none of that. I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2023-16, which is revoking a conditional use permit for R&B towing and recovery.
I'll second it.
Motion been moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, this side is still.
That's all I have. You guys having for me?
How's everything going on your?
We've got a workshop tomorrow night, a workshop Thursday night. No,
What's your workshop for?
zoning regulations.
Oh, okay.
One this week, 2 next week, I think. I have to look at the calendar.
Is that open? Your workshops, are they open to
Yes,
everybody?
yeah. We've had a few people coming.
What time is that and where?
6 o'clock tomorrow night here. Then Monday night is 6 o'clock here, and then we've got a regular meeting on next Tuesday night.
Do you have any meetings tonight?
No,
No, none tonight.
no meeting tonight. but we're still looking at maybe, first draft, having a public hearing in April.
I don't have anything else for you.
Thank you, Darren.
Thanks.
Darren. Anybody else have anything? If we talk about some, you guys got anything? Gary, oh, I was gonna call Burton. I'm gonna see if he texts me back. Yeah, he said we can call him. Does anybody know how to work that phone?
You're not gonna just do it on yours?
Yeah, you just, hit me a call and I can find it.
New call and his phone number.
This is Burton.
Hey Burton, it's Danny. We got you here in open session and if everybody can hear you, we got the mic set up for you. So if you want to visit.
Sure.
us.
Sure. Okay, did you, want me to just start talking?
Just start from the very beginning because I haven't said anything and
Okay, so as I think you guys all know, where we were at is I came to you and told you that the job had kind of become all encompassing and I needed, there's more than I could do with my family and my work. And so I was tendered my resignation. We had the Republicans held their convention last Thursday to select or to appoint my successor. We had an attorney who had expressed interest and who had come and toured the facility and met everyone. It looked like it was going to be a good transition. However, that morning she withdrew her letter of interest and said she was not interested in the job anymore. No other attorneys appeared at the convention, and for lack of any other interest, and I didn't want to leave the county in a lurch without a county attorney, I agreed to rescind my, plan B. I wanted to rescind my resignation, and I agreed that I would stay on as county attorney, but my condition is I just need a little bit of help to take the pressure off Justin and I, because that has been the whole problem. So at this point, the Republicans reappointed me. I'm staying where I'm at. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to remain county attorney, but I am going to impress upon you guys that I need a part-time assistant. From your perspective, I don't think that actually changes very much. I told you that the job should be full-time and should pay about $120, $130, and you did that. If I'm not doing that, it shouldn't be $120, and I'm not asking you to pay me $120. I think it should go back down. And I think it may merit some bump, but certainly not $120. I think that we can take some of that salary that you'd already approved and put that in the new position. You guys gave me control over my diversion funds last year. I can't use those for payroll, but I can start tapping into that to kind of defray some other costs and level it out a little bit. And I've reached out to a couple attorneys who might have some interest. I don't have anything. I'm still kind of feeling out exactly what this is going to look like and negotiate the whole deal. But I think that as it looks right now, I think that if I can hire someone for $50,000, can get someone in there to do the work to help out and take the pressure off of my assistant and I, and we can finish out this term strong and complete the job.
So with another assistant, your assistant is staying as well?
Yeah, so I approached my assistant that I have currently, and I told him when this is all going on, I said, hey, if I can bring someone on that allows you to get back to the schedule that you agreed to and that we contracted for in the beginning, are you willing to stay? And he told me he was. So with his agreeing to stay, I agreed to stay, and I just need that one more person to cover some of these double dockets, make some of these charging decisions, and I think that we can make it work.
Do you already have somebody in mind, or?
I've got a couple people in mind who I've reached out to and I've been talking to. I don't have anything in stone yet because, again, I'm still kind of feeling out exactly what this position is going to look like in terms of, you know, what dockets they'd be in charge of, what they'd be covering, what their time looks like. And until I can represent to someone, this is what the job is. I don't think anyone wants to apply for a job they don't know what the hours are, what their obligations are. So I do have a couple people who I think are interested, and I think I'm optimistic we can find somebody, but I don't have anything just yet that's still in the works.
But as far as time crunch, we're all good now.
Yeah, we're all good now. I mean, everything is kind of averted. I mean, right now the pressure's back on me until I can find somebody, but you know we're moving forward in that regard.
So you had mentioned something about maybe as a merit in your salary. What were you referring to there?
I don't know. It's again the scope of the job has increased even with an assistant. I don't know. It may be something that we visit once we discuss once I fully figure out who we're hiring and what that's going to look like. But you know, I feel like if it was bumped to to 95 or 100, I think that's fair and commensurate with what the extra tasks. But I think that's maybe worthy of a discussion when we know have all the facts in front of us.
And you think another assistant will run you approximately 50?
I think based on the conversation I've had and what I'm looking at, that is reasonable. Yes.
You guys got anything?
How do we know, Burton, that this happened now and a week from now or 2 weeks from now that this don't happen again?
So this is not going to happen again? Is that the question?
That's my question is, I mean, we went through this situation of a resignation and then 2 weeks from now or a month from now, how do we know this won't happen again? And maybe we should just move on and let them appoint us a county attorney.
Well, obviously I don't know the future, but the problem from the beginning was just a matter of time and commitment. And if I can find someone who can relieve that pressure and take some of that work over, then that solves the problem and there's no issue. And there's no reason to think that there'd be any problems going forward. And I'm giving my commitment that if I can find that person, I can absolutely finish this off without any issues. I mean, I guess the only way there'd be a problem is if there's just no one forthcoming and I can't find any assistance and nothing changes, and then I have to figure out what I'm going to do. But I'm hopeful, and I don't think that's going to be the situation.
So Burton, should you bring us a new proposed budget?
Yes, absolutely.
In with the changes that you would like to see taking place?
Absolutely.
So we can look at that compared to your old one and make that decision?
Yes, I can.
Gary, as far as that motion that we made on the 120, do we need to do anything on that? I mean, right now, or?
Say that when you're ready to make a motion, if you're going to approve what Burton has requested today, or if we're going to approve it at some point, when you're ready to make that motion, it will include a motion rescinding the original.
We'll just do that all together?
Yeah, I think so.
Burton, you probably don't have a good timeline on whenever you think you could come in or get that?
Well, let me look at my calendar. Well, first of all, I apologize. I'm not there in person today. I intended to be. My wife got sick and she had to run to the hospital, which is why I'm at home and not there, which highlights the problem I brought to you. But let me look at my calendar real quick. Looks like I'm not available next Monday, but the following Monday, the 20th, I should be free. I will make sure that I don't get anything scheduled that time, and I'll be there.
You think you could have a candidate with you to talk about, or?
I would like to think so. Yes, I'll say yes. I hope so.
You're going to want to be able to give them a number though, right?
Yeah, I'd like to be able to give them a number.
And your assistant now, Justin, he's,
So where I got the number from, Justin contracted to do essentially carry over the same contract that the prior assistant attorney did with James Brunn, which is to cover a docket or docket and a half a week, and then be in charge of the juvenile and sync stuff and deal with the phone calls and emails and all that. And that was $40,000 a year, and plus benefits. I'm envisioning this would look pretty similar, only maybe instead of a docket and a half, about maybe two dockets or so, 2.5 a week, or I'll just say two, and then I'll say two, and then be a charging attorney doing a lot of the charging decisions, handling that aspect as well. And so this person's responsibility, I think, would exceed Justin's a little bit. So that's why I think the pay should exceed it a little bit. That's where I came up with that 50.
and he's aware of that, because I mean, he's not going to be upset if you bring in somebody over 50.
Nope, I've already visited with Justin about it, and he said he's very comfortable with that because that's the level of engagement he can do and that he wants.
You got anything else for him? So 2 weeks from today, you're thinking we can hopefully have something concrete?
Yeah, yes.
Gary, is there anything else we need to?
I don't think so.
You guys got anything else for him?
I don't have anything.
Bert, I appreciate it. You coming
Sure.
back and
All right.
doing what you're doing. So,
Well, I appreciate you guys and the Republicans having me back. I mean, again, I know I kind of gave you guys whiplash, but I didn't want to leave the county without anybody, and I still think the best situation is what we had talked about originally. But since that wasn't forthcoming and it can't be done, I think this is a good way to, what's best for the county this time. So,
well, thank you for reconsidering it. And if you need anything from me, just give me a holler.
Thank you, Burton.
all right, will do. Thanks, Jamie. All right, bye.
Got any more discussion on that? Gary, you have anything?
I don't believe so.
Do we want to talk about any tabled issues, or not issues, but tabled items?
She didn't have a second page.
Didn't you tell Bobby Johnson that we would,
Yeah, I don't, does he need to be over here?
do we have anything for him?
We talked about, what did we talk about on the 2 weeks?
Just 3 holidays is what was, and I don't think David's worked up anything yet. They haven't had time to.
I don't.
yet.
We'll get David and Katie and I will be meeting as soon as David's through with his travels, and we'll get something in writing to you.
Okay, that's fine. Just want him to know where we're at on it.
Right.
Okay.
You got anything right off the top of your head, Katie? Do you guys want to talk about a plan moving forward for the jail, or what I guess one thing we can talk about, Gary, if you're here, is Kevin had turned that building back over to us, and there were some lockers in there that I'd talked to the STARS program about, and we'd talked to Kevin, but now he had control of it's us. Do I need to do or David do some surplus
David would need
resolution?
to do a surplus resolution.
Do we need to do it for each item or?
Or you can do one resolution for several items if you have several. But, there needs to be some record of where you're going with stuff.
Kevin, what's all over there? The lockers, a few shelves, desks.
Desks and things like that that would be movable.
And have we got the billing taken care of, so you're not paying the utilities over there anymore?
That's correct. They energy and stuff like that, they agreed a week or two ago
Yeah.
to take that back, and David had fun paying for that.
Right.
So I think that it all comes down to, developing our plan on that as far as what we're going to do, what we're going to look at. And doesn't that kind of come back in to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago of finding somebody to advise us on those situations
Yeah, I think so.
and things that way? So I don't really see how we can take any action toward that until we get somebody in to work in that capacity.
Are we still thinking of moving the people off the top of the top floor of the courthouse and going into the old judicial center or building, district courts?
That was the game plan to begin with, what I thought was going to fix the judicial building up, and that's where the appraiser's office is going.
Sean, did you ever get, you got numbers for that, didn't you?
I'm sorry?
For the old government building, district courts? You get numbers for that already?
As far as bids for that building, no.
I thought that's what we're gonna bring somebody in to help us.
I thought you'd already got some for that, or was that just the attorney's office?
I had a set of numbers turned in after the bids closed, but
So he's
at that point, we backed up and we're going to get someone to assist me in that process. So what I've got is on hold until we determine how we're going to proceed with that process.
You already had the contractor come through and walk through, didn't you?
I've had a couple of them walk through at different points.
My thought on those tabled items and things that way, Danny, is that we should, if we're going to tackle one of them, we need to not just do it at the end of the meeting here, but actually move it to the agenda for, say, next week and allow our staff to get the information that we need to be making the appropriate decisions to us and things along those nature.
So do we want to do some kind of plan, schedule, and each week we talk about something different, or how do you guys want to do that?
Good with that. I just think it needs to be on our agenda, and we need to be communicating with the staff to make sure that the people that are affected by those things
I agree.
are prepared to speak on those matters.
We can talk. I guess one thing that keeps lingering is the elderly building there in Pleasanton. I read in the newspaper they said they're waiting on us for an answer, and we haven't given them one, have we? I mean,
We've not given them a written response. You saw what they proposed, so.
How functional is that building? I mean,
they use it every day.
that's so, and do they want to move?
No, they don't want to move. No.
So why are we trying to create a problem where there is potentially not one?
Well, I personally think there's a problem there. The building's kind of falling down around them.
It looks straight and square from the road.
Yeah.
I haven't been inside.
It all came. I wanted to get them a better building that, our maintenance guys goes over there during the winter and used to turn on a window unit to make sure during the summer, an AC unit to make sure that they're, the temperature's acceptable in there for them. I just, then last year and the year before, I think we spent close to, 16 grand on AC units, condensers outside. I know, I looked at the foundation's good. We'd proposed to Pleasanton to maybe try to give them the building. They didn't agree with that. So we talked about putting them in the community center, which will take a little bit of remodeling.
But the citizens don't want to move to the community center.
No, but it would, no, they don't. But I think it costs us, it's either $19,000 or $21,000 a year to maintain that building compared to, what was it a month? I just encourage everybody to go over there and take a look at the building.
Okay.
And is there any way to isolate just a portion of that building so you're not cooling?
Well, that's what we're doing right now.
Commissioners, if I could.
Please.
There's a project or possibility that's on our work desk. And if we can take this issue up next week, Jessica and I'd like to bring you some information and some possibilities on this project that we can't do currently. But just to let you know that we are still continuing to look at options and opportunities. So next week, we would be prepared to come in and speak to you possibly about another option.
Sean, you want to talk about the building, what your knowing on it is? What you know? Problems, what we've put into it the last few years?
I'd have to bring up the maintenance schedule to know everything that we've done. We've faced trouble with air units and other things in the building. We've faced plumbing issues with the main line going out to the connection. The building itself is in disrepair and needs upkeep. But I think what Jessica and I are going to talk to you about next week will address a lot of those issues. I'm not prepared to talk about it today.
So is that the one on the agenda for next week?
I guess it can be.
So what do we need from our staff to be able to look at those things? Do we need John to bring us our repair costs that we've spent over there, our utility cost, and things of that nature at the current building?
Yeah, I think I have all that too. This has been a long time coming. We've talked about this a lot.
I'm just thinking if we can ask for the information now so that we can get them to compile it instead of throwing it at them at the meeting, that we'll be able to digest that information and resolve the issue instead of kicking the can.
What I'll do is, if it's agreeable with you commissioners, I'll build a packet similar to the solid waste addressing multiple options, issues that we've faced and what the potentials are. And I'll just have that prepared for you next week, along with some more information, but I'll build it similar to what I did there and just try to provide you with some history and also with the surrounding issues.
I like that, Sean. Thank you.
Hey, Kevin, do you want to come up and talk to us. You don't have to. Kevin sat in when I was gone. He sat in at a meeting for us at the juvenile intake down there in Girard. And it sounded like a good meeting. Thanks, Gary. And if you'd want to talk, that'd be great.
Yeah, so a few weeks back, Commissioner McCullough asked me to be a proxy for him at the Juvenile Detention Center, which we've talked about before, and Linn County is part of that program. So I got to go down and take a tour of the facility. I hadn't really seen it for probably 20-some years. And it was pretty eye-opening to see how their board acts and reacts. I did try to help them out a little bit. They have some inoperable doors and things like that were problematic for them. We talked about solutions and resolutions to some of that stuff, and I felt like it was pretty productive. I think probably one of the larger issues that they might have as far as functionality is, they don't really have anybody in their facility or on their board or in their planning programs that do a lot of detention. Their director's fairly new and hasn't really been in that world in some time, but or hasn't really ever been in that world. He's new to detention. Of course, it's juvenile detention, so there's some differences than what we do, but the facilities are really about the same. So, I think Linn County pays a lot of dollars to that facility, and I think it's something that is important that somebody from Linn County does serve and participate in those board functions. The board asked me if we would, if maybe some of the Southeast sheriffs would get together and come through and give an assessment of their center, which I thought was unique because, it is a detention facility. And of course, that's what sheriffs do is, detention. They're not corrections or anything like that. It's not that they're altering the behavior of the inmate or the citizen in their care. They're just holding them for court purposes and things. So I think Linn County's contribution to the center is $60-some thousand a year now. So it is an interesting project, and it's something I think we as the counties who utilize those facilities, we kind of forget that we have a huge stipend into that program. If you look at a county like Crawford, I think there's probably twice what we are because of the usability,
You know what we average taking juveniles down there? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, it's crazy expensive because we don't utilize the facility that often. So, I mean, if we were talking about, how many days of housing does Linn County use, it's very low for the amount of money that we're paying. And I've said it before, I think there's cheaper ways to do that. But do you go north or do you go south, to utilize it? I think if you had a situation where you had a juvenile in custody for a long period of time, it's reasonable. But we haven't necessarily had that with them. So, and I don't know if in the 28 years of their existence, I don't know that we've really ever used it. I would say that, probably if we hone down into what we pay for what we get, Linn County is probably paying an exorbitant amount per day per housing. You have to have a resource for that. It has to be in place.
That's by statute, right? But it doesn't tell you how many you don't have to reserve any beds or anything like that, right? You just have to have something in place, correct?
You have to have something in place because we don't have a juvenile detention center here. And, I don't know how many counties are using it. I think, there might be 20-some involved in that. But I mean, it's a good program. They have in-house schooling and things like that there where they can get online and continue their education. I think that's been made easier, with COVID and stuff in the past. I think people got more used to doing some of that type of online schooling and things like that. I do know that their population is down to such a point they've done things like close their kitchen, and now they buy food from the sheriff's office, which is across the street from the jail there. So I think they've lost, some of their staff and things like that. They're still very operational. I mean, when I was down there, I personally witnessed their operation and how they work things. I want to say that day they only had 8 in custody in-house. I think they hold 25 plus 3. And when I say that, it's like 3 would be, they don't call it isolation, but 3 of the cells are probably cells that would be individual housing cells. And then there's 25 other bed space or something like that in there.
Do you know, like for Johnson County, do you know how they do it? Can a county pay to have a contract with them that we utilize them? Is that?
I don't know about Johnson County. I know Wyandotte County, when I was in negotiation with Wyandotte County for our inmate holding here in Linn, they talked about their juvenile housing project, and I think they have a per day situation where you can house with Wyandotte, because Wyandotte owns their own juvenile detention facility to some extent, and I don't know how all that works. I haven't ever drilled down into that, but I think there's other options out there, and I'm not trying to pull anybody away from Southeast Kansas Juvenile Detention. I think they got a good program. They have for a 28-year-old facility, they have a very well-maintained facility with some exceptions. They have, technology in their facility that's 28 years old, and, door opening measures and stuff like that. That's going to have to come up to speed at some point, which, quite frankly, when they start talking about the remodel of that facility, there's going to be more dollars involved. I do know they have a very large, they have a fairly large amount of money kind of in the hole, if you will. And I think I think they could utilize some of that funding to upgrade their facility somewhat. But there are also some new measures the legislature's recently passed, and that is essentially sanctioning juveniles who are on probation back to a detention facility, because there for a long time, if you were on juvenile probation, there was no really fear, unless you committed a new charge, of going back just based on your probation. They had other measures, and now legislation has made some changes there. So I guess what I say is that facility could get a lot busier if they do sanction juveniles back to a detention facility based on a probation violation. And I think that could be problematic for them, because they've done away with some of their services at the facility, not to a point of failure, but like kitchen services and stuff like that. If they were to get, I would say probably 10, 15 persons who were being held in detention, I think that could, they could probably be more efficient by doing their own cooking and stuff like that than purchasing it from somewhere else, because that could be rather expensive to continue that process. But I am glad that we do have representation on the board. I think it's very important because we have a good chunk of money going there. And I will say that their administration put together a really nice packet as far as where they're at and things like that. I mean, I felt like the administration side of that facility was very accountable for what they were doing.
I think they reached out to me like 20 times to make sure that we had somebody going there. So they care.
Yeah, I believe they do care, and I think they do it the right way. I just think that with their current facility, and it's totally upgradable. I think the structure is really nice, but I think they need to make some upgrades in there, just because, my concern was with the staff and their safety. Seeing a few doors blocked open and things like that 28 years ago wouldn't have occurred. I probably was at that facility, the last time probably 20 years ago. And well, quite frankly, you just wouldn't have seen that, because it was a little bit more modern, for that day. In today's standards, they have some broken stuff that they just haven't fixed. And I think that ought to be on top of the agenda. I'm not saying that it's unhealthy or unsafe for the people who are staying there. My concern would be with staffing and, where they could stow an inmate, or to individually keep an inmate in a cell, things like that. I just feel like there were some things that probably in a modern jail system wouldn't be up to snuff today. But I think that they were very receptive. I mean, and I felt like the board, when I talked about those things to the board, I felt like that was, kind of items that were coming to the top of the top of their table that they were interested in. They were very interested in it. And I think it's just things that have gone on for so long, it's just become standard, But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be your proxy there. The guys told me it was probably one of the longest meetings they've had in a few years, because I kept them there a little late, but we had great discussion, and I was really proud of that, to the point that they said, hey, why don't you put some guys together in southeast Kansas and come in and do an assessment for us? And I've reached out to a few other sheriffs. Everybody's agreed. And I think they'd like that opportunity because we all have a stake in the facility,
I think, I appreciate you going. And
No, thank you for the opportunity.
one other thing when I got you there.
Sure.
When I first got in as a commissioner, I know it was talked about food and stuff for the elderly. What is your opinion on if the county utilizing your kitchen over there to do the elderly food instead of contracting it out?
Yeah, I think it's a doable project. I've talked to staff about it, and particularly my jail cook. And I think it's a doable project. I think it's something that, I think we'd have to put a solution in place, have a long-term solution for that, because, in a detention facility, everything's very regiment as to how we do things. So I think we'd have to alter a couple of processes. But I do know this. I know that the lunch that we fix probably wouldn't be what I would consider at the same level of the lunch that our elders are getting. But the dinner that we fix, the supper, it would be probably at or above the level that they're currently getting. And I would totally consider that project. I think we could do that project. And I believe, we've discussed it before, but just so community would know, kind of the Meals on Wheels project, if you will. And I think that would be a very doable project. And I think the cost efficiency to that would be probably much greater than what we're currently doing. I'd have to look at the numbers of where we're currently at to see where we could go. But I think that's a project that would be worth at least looking at to see how we could do that to make that more efficient, and offer the same or better quality than maybe we're currently doing or getting. And the only reason that and I'm not kicking the quality of what they're getting now at all, but the problematic issue with that is that it's being transported from 60 plus miles away, is my understanding. I think we could offer a better, fresher product that would be, maybe more efficient and not having been transported. I think that program could operate essentially out of the facility where, I think we own a van and have a person who does that delivery. I think they could pick that up, minutes after that it had been prepared and make delivery of that. And they might argue that. And I wouldn't want to change up something that everybody's terribly happy with, but I think that we could, it's my belief that we could do it more efficiently and provide a fresher product.
And those are just little things that I'd like to talk about during budget season with them when they come in. And, I'm just open ears to everything because I want to make sure we're doing everything efficiently. And
Sure. And Commissioner, I think the thing that's important for the people to understand is we're not saying we're going to change anything right now, but if we can look at things and do them more efficiently, I think, at some point you have to give consideration to those. And consideration don't mean we're doing it. It means we consider doing it. How could we do it? And I wouldn't want to say I don't necessarily want to say how we can do it the same. How can we do it better? And I think that's something to look at, but I would say that if you walk through, our jail setting and seeing the quality of the food that comes out of it, I mean, we have a very high quality kitchen, and we're doing things at a very reasonable rate based on, the way we purchase and things like that. I mean, we're running meal programs 2-3 weeks in advance, menu for meals and stuff like that. And I think when you get involved in that more commercial type kitchen, which we're in now, it just makes that stuff so much more efficient.
and that's where, even talking about the buildings and all that stuff, I know everybody thinks that I'm trying to just do all this change with their buildings. And I want to get a better product for them. I want them to feel like they have their own place. They can put up a TV in there, play bingo, do whatever they want. I want it to be, be theirs. Because I personally feel like we just we put something in place to kind of push them down the road. And I didn't start this, whatever you guys want to call it, because I was mad at the elderly or whatever. I mean, I did it because I wanted them to have better. I went in there and ate lunches with them, talked to them about it, took all their opinions in consideration, and and then did a little of my homework. Went in there multiple times, checked the buildings out, and if it's not the best option for us to move, then that's that's not it. But I believe we're paying over $550 average a month on electricity for a few hours 5 days a week, and I just don't think the building's efficient. So that was my only idea I had there, and there was no other agenda or nothing like that. So I know that a lot of people thinks that. I don't know why, but they do. So
I think a lot of people just don't like change. Yeah.
Well, change ain't always a bad thing. The world changes around us every day. And that's why I wanted to talk about that. I'm not saying we should change Meals on Wheels. I'm just saying I'd like to throw out options, just like the juvenile thing. I think we should figure out our options. That's a budget to me, and that's stuff we need to discuss during the budget too. And that's why it's important to me. So,
Anything else, commissioners?
I don't have anything.
No.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time today.
Sure.
You guys got anything?
I don't have anything.
Nothing. So next week we're going to talk about the elderly.
Was it to the senior center?
I think, yeah, all of them. Like Parker, we have the floor issue still, right?
We are looking at the floor and keeping track of it. I had Darren look at it last week. He told me it hasn't come back up through the wax after Danny waxed it the last time. So, because we didn't put that as part of our improvement or grant, we may go ahead and put it on a better schedule to continue to observe it and wax it more often, strip it and wax it, because apparently at this point, the rains haven't come in. We'll see how it survives the spring, but at this point, the maintenance that we've done so far has been able to minimize the issues up there. But I'll have to report back after it gets good and wet.
And during budget, we in the elderly fund, we do have funds to do, miscellaneous repairs and stuff like that too, right?
There's a fund for that, and there is money there available. But there's also other projects and things that we need to look at as far as the other buildings and things. So
Is that something you guys want to talk about all in one, the elderly or just Pleasanton, or?
What action do we need to have take place? What do we need to get resolved?
A plan, that's my opinion. I just what's wrong with each building?
But we're not gonna be able to build a plan if we don't know what we're trying to accomplish.
That's what I'm saying.
So I'm saying that we need to set a goal.
That's what I'm saying. Are we you want to talk about everything all at once? Like what's wrong with each building? What you're.
I can bring you some of the maintenance issues or all of them, again, and build a packet for that.
This will just be ongoing. I mean, on them.
So, but I can include some of the higher end items on that, but
We don't need to talk about it then. We'll just talk about Pleasanton then.
I can build that up for you and get that to you next week. But I think given the timeline in a week, most of what I'm going to be able to focus on with the other projects I got will be addressing Pleasanton.
So do we
because
have,
I don't have time
do
to
we
look
have-
at all
we
the
have
buildings.
issues with the other centers?
We have minor issues that come up from time to time. We'll have,
So our only major issue would be that we haven't done anything at Pleasanton? Or-
that is the pressing issue in that program right now.
So I,
That building and its issues are the key focus of that program right now.
okay, so I think that we need to focus on that issue and look at resolving that situation. I think that if, Danny, if we go out and we start bringing in other things to cloud that, we're not gonna know which way we're going, which way is up, and how do we move forward from that situation. I think we need to focus in on the issue at hand and resolve that issue. And then, like Jim said, we can work on something else from that standpoint.
I'll prep that and have that ready for you next week. I'll try to get the numbers out so that you can look at them. If I have it by Friday, I'll try to get the numbers out to you so that you can look at it before we come to meet.
Thank you, Sean.
I don't have anything else, you guys.
Nope.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion moving second, all in favor?
Bye.